much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this important hearing, and thank you all for our panelists for being with us this morning. We appreciate that very much. Mr. Chairman, today's hearing will focus on identity theft. And let me just mention that on this side of the aisle, we have a number of excellent proposals that address that issue. Mr. Gutierrez, Mr. Ackerman, Mr. Ford, Ms. Hooley, Mr. Emanuel have all brought forth some excellent ideas that I think will take us a long way in addressing the crisis of identity theft. We all know that identity theft abuses in this country are skyrocketing. I think we're going to hear that from our witnesses. According to data from the Justice Department, 500,000 people, 500,000 people filed reports with law enforcement in 2002 for identity theft crimes, and an estimated 700,000 are likely to file similar reports this year. A major problem now. It is getting worse, and we need some solutions to that. In addition, the dollar losses reported by identity theft victims have increased from $160 million in 2001 to $343 million in 2002. So this problem is accelerating, and it's incumbent upon this committee to address it. We are going to hear, I know, in the course of the next few weeks, a number of excellent ideas. I want to bring forth one idea that I think is important. And that is that one very obvious and extremely helpful tool would be to provide consumers free credit reports and credit scores from all three credit bureaus at least once a year, and a description of the key factors that may have adversely affected the consumer's credit score. In other words, one way to deal with this issue, and many other issues as well, is to make sure that consumers all over this country have free access to their credit reports. And when they have that access, they will be able to see, wow, who has been ripping me off, who has stolen my identity, and they will be able to move a lot quicker than they are at present. I'm happy to inform you, Mr. Chairman, that I've introduced legislation in this regard, which is being supported by virtually all of the consumer organizations in this country, including the Consumer Federation of America, Consumers Union, and the U.S. Public Interest Research Group. Allowing consumers free access to their credit reports could substantially improve the accuracy of credit reports and cut down on identity theft. And I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman, on this legislation. Mr. Chairman, I would also point out on a somewhat tangential issue, but important as well, that very often we will hear testimony from our friends in the banking industry and the credit card industry about this and that other matter. But I think we should be aware, as we hear their testimony, that in some instances at least, executive compensation in the banking industry is getting really out of hand. According to an article that appeared in the Philadelphia Inquirer on June 1st, 2003, quote, #1 on Business Week's 2002 pay scorecard was financial giant MBNA CEO Alfred Lerner with $194.9 million. Mr. Lerner died in October of 2002 and was replaced in November by Charles Cowley, who managed to place number 6 on that list with a total pay of $48.6 million. Not too bad. Two more NBNA executives who weren't CEOs also got mega bucks. John Cochran got $36 million and Bruce Hammonds $28.6 million. And I raised this issue about excessive CEO compensation to point out that there are consumers in this country today who are being ripped off by credit card companies who are paying up to 29% a year in interest rates. So when we hear our friends from the credit card companies or the banks telling us just in what kind of terrible financial need they are in, we might want to remember that number, and that the top 4 executives in that particular company in 2002 earned over $300 million collectively. Mr. Chairman, the last point that I want to make on credit cards is that it is absolutely imperative that this committee address the credit card bait and switch mechanisms that some of the credit card companies are bringing forth. As we all know, the credit card industry is hooking consumers into purchasing credit cards by bombarding them. This is one of the more astronomical numbers I have ever heard. In a given year, the credit card companies send out 5 billion solicitations. 5 billion solicitations, many of them going to young people all over this country. And what they promise is people low interest rates, 0%, 3%, 5%. What they forget to tell you is that if you borrow money on another credit card, if you were late in paying your car loan 2 years ago, your credit card rates can soar. They are ripping off the American people, and this is an issue that we must address. Mr. Chairman, thank you again for calling this important hearing. I'm going to be running in and out because of other commitments, but I'll be back, and I thank you for bringing these witnesses together.
Thank you.